we are joined by Torvik, who is one of our senior managers of advanced support consulting here, coming to you with 17 years of experience. We've got Ashley Garcia, who's our manager of advanced support consultants, who leads a team of dedicated, high quality folks committed to the solutions for our clients. And Joe Conley, our senior manager of solutions architecture, really being the expert in the product for us here. So we've got a really well-rounded group for you today. I'll let them provide a little bit of info on their background as they present, but super excited to have the three of you here. Thank you everyone for joining. I will go ahead and take my back seat and hand it over to you, Joe, to take us away.
Great. Thank you so much, Amanda. Good morning and good afternoon to everybody, depending on where you're coming from. Like Amanda said, my name is Joe Conley, a senior manager of solutions architecture, which really means I'm just a big old nerd. Been here at Bonterra for just shy of 4 years, and before that, I was at Blackbaud for 5 years, and then before that, I worked in fundraising. So today, we want to make sure that we can tell you, and of course, get your questions answered about what comes with our new advanced support consulting package. So why are we talking about, or first of all, you said, here's who you're going to be talking to, myself, Torvik, and Ashley, and here's how it's going to go down. We're going to talk about what is our success services, the core success services specifically, see a little bit of that in action, and then make sure you've got time for your Q&A, as Amanda said, right in that Q&A block. But here's why this is so important. For years here at Bonterra, we've been showing success for both our F&E and our case management clients. For our F&E clients, Habitat Humanity saw a 242% increase in their revenue. Matthew Reardon Center, 300% increase in individual contributions. Covenant House, 22% increase in new donor volume. On the Apricot side, 2xing for typical increase in program efficiency. 31% increase in funds for Deacon Nurse Ministry because of the work they were able to do right there in Apricot. 3x typical increase in program outcomes, 14x for the number of people served that Western Houston Assistance Ministries could do. So great, right? Everything is perfect. No reason to worry about anything. Well, that's not quite true, right? Because there is so many more tools and so much more data available, and our donors, our supporters, our clients, our partners are expecting us to take advantage of it, right? And as we do, we're seeing massive increases in the number of solutions that organizations have to use, massive increase in the expectations from those donors for things like multi-channel engagement, and just massive, massive increases in the amount of data in general. While simultaneously, nonprofit organizations, both on their case management and on their fundraising and engagement sides, have seen that things are just getting harder. Massive amounts of data, but not really the information, the background, what they need to make sense of it, to actually make those daily decisions, and instead feeling massively, massively overwhelmed. And again, overcoming that overwhelming is what we need in order to reach especially those younger audiences who are, one, very much expecting tailored experiences, and two, fickle to the organization, not to the cause. Many of our Gen Z and millennials will continue to give to the specific causes that they care about, but hop around from whatever organization seems like is having the greatest impact in regards to that cause. And on the case side, increased technology, increased compliance complexity is just making things harder, right? 72% of those we looked at said that they are wasting time on complex reporting requirements and that they have significant efficiency and funding risks. So what I want to know from all of you, how do you feel about that? And are we completely off base? And you're like, no, everything is peachy keen. In fact, I could use a lot more work, please. Or are you feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, or both? And that poll has been launched. Let us know how y'all are feeling.
All right, I'm gonna give everyone a couple of seconds to answer. At the moment, the majority of folks are saying both.
Yeah,
Seems not, unfortunately, not all that surprising. And then the next highest bucket is in that overwhelmed state.
yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot. And I haven't even used the word AI yet. And all of that's coming in. That's a whole nother layer that's being thrown on top of all of this. Yeah, it is a lot. But that is why we have our our success services, and why specifically today I'm real excited to talk to you about core. Now you might be thinking, okay, Joe, well, you're saying services in plural. What are all those services? Well, we have three levels of this. We have the core, we have the enhanced, and we have the premier. Now, we've already been to you with what is contained in enhanced and premier, but we found that for some organizations, that's a little bit too much, both in terms of the level of support, but then also on the wallet. So that's where really our core tool comes right in. So as you can see, with Core, you still absolutely get advanced support consultant, what Torvik and Ashley are about to talk to us about. And there it comes with 8 annual best practice consulting calls. So do notice a couple of differences, 8 versus monthly, so 8 versus 12 to do the quick math there. And it explicitly does not include the data and design services. And the reason for that is we found that there were many of our clients, maybe some of you out there in the audience, who really didn't need that feature specifically. They were especially interested in the consulting calls, but then layering on the data design service was a little bit more than you needed. So we figured makes sense to us. Let's create a package that doesn't include that. And again, a few fewer best practice consulting calls. So here's what we then contain within these services. We've got the best practice consulting calls, which will have a kickoff, just kind of a planning session, right? Figuring out what it is you want to talk about, and those 8 1.5 hour consulting sessions. And I believe with that, let me even go back. It's my time to pass it on over to the team here.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. And again, my name's Torvik. I think looking at the audience, there's some familiar names out there. So hello, everybody. And thanks again for joining this call. And so I'll be talking about the F&E side of things, the every action side of things, and Ashley will go over the rest. But I did want to take the opportunity, we want to take the opportunity to kind of outline kind of like what to expect next, so you option for the core support package, what happens. So you will team up with folks on our teams, and you will get kind of a welcome email, and it will help direct you towards the appropriate means for being able to fill out some quick surveys to kind of a little bit, to be honest, kind of a getting to know us. I like to think a lot of the times we start to become an extension of your team. Not only, are we the experts in the tools, but we're also here to be your active thought partners. So with that, we will take some time to, take a look at your responses and start to think about what to propose to you for some session ideas. And then we'll get those right on the books, whether we schedule the next 4 out or 6 out or all 8 of them at once. There's always opportunity for course correcting. This is a relationship that we have. If so we do one, we want to chart where we're going to go the next, or if we want to, it's very, very much a relationship that we have with you. But yeah, if you want to go to the next one, Joe. Like I just mentioned, we are, kind of two different things. We're the technical experts and also the industry experts. But on the technical side of things, this is where we roll up our sleeves. We help you with streamlining workflow efficiencies, optimizing your use of our tools, or ultimately, getting the most out of our tools. And we're here to ensure that everything's running as smoothly and as smart as possible. You know, we bring to the table our deep platform knowledge, and we try to have a proactive approach, and we help to uncover, you know, efficiencies that you might not even know is possible, you know. And the result, you know, at the end of the day is you get to you know, drive impact and make sure that you're focusing your time as best as possible on the things that you need to do, you know, day in and day out. So again, you know, we love to work with you to kind of, you know, see, you know, again, it's that relationship. You know, I've been here, like Amanda said, about 17 years, and I've worked with many nonprofits. And throughout those years, you know, I have friends. You know, it's just like I've met up with friends, you know, clients and friends. You know, it's just like, it might sound corny, but it is, you know, it's right there. Where it is that person to person relationship that we have. We know your goals, we know your staff, you know, we know all the intricacies, and you know, we're here to just help and, you know, kind of help along the way. So over to you, Ashley.
Yeah, thanks, Torvik. So hi, everybody. Again, my name is Ashley Garcia. Oh, can we actually go back, Joe? I want to chat through a little bit more of the industry expertise. Thanks. So as Amanda had mentioned earlier, I am also a manager with the ASC team here. And when I was helping develop these core success services, I really leaned into my personal history, which I spent 10 years in the nonprofit sector, worked with families, worked in grants management, was like many of us, right, carried multiple hats. For those of y'all that work in the nonprofit industry, we know that that happens a lot. Where it's like, hey, you know Excel, like go and implement this new database for us. Definitely happened to me quite a few times. And my story is not unique here at Bonterra, right? There are many people on staff, including many of our ASCs, that have that nonprofit industry expertise. And so that's kind of the second track for core services that these sessions can be used for. It's not just the technical expertise on the platform, but also knowing and understanding how you are trying to move the needle in your communities, right? And understanding the industry and the best practices around those things to help you then move the needle on your data excellency as well, right? So there could be a session specific to, like, let's talk through your data cycle, right? How do you manage that? Maybe you need that thought partner, that brain, that second brain to chat through what your processes are on there, right? Just to get aligned. And so, like I said, I was really thinking through that lens when helping to create this, and thinking through, hey, at the first part of my journey as an admin, either I've worked at one organization that had ETO, another organization that had bot, so I've been in shoes for many of you, and was thinking through, okay, when my first journey started as an admin, what did I really need? And I needed somebody to just like, you know, chat with me around like, how do I properly do this? What caveats am I not thinking through? And going that route as well. So that is really where we're saying industry expertise comes from, right? Is just giving you that thought partner and then building on that relationship to really not only think through platform items needed, but then also those other data excellency things inside the platform. Yeah, and then getting further, a little further into that, if we can go on to the next one, Joe. Some use cases for this service, specifically related to Apricot and ETO, right? Like I had mentioned earlier and kind of Torvik chatted about too, right? There are kind of two paths you can go here, and that is the product side where, hey, I have, you know, a new grant and we're having these new data points that we need to build out. I just need consulting on how to go about doing that efficiently in the system, taking into consideration other things that I already have on the platform. Let's have a session about those. So it could be very product focused. And that's totally fine. You will do that during the discovery, during your kickoff period, right? Where we'll align on those goals to understand, you know, what is it you actually need. And if it's product focused, then those are the sessions we'll help schedule with you. It could also be, like I had mentioned, those data excellency sides, right? So providing those consultation to optimize your system itself. Or if you look at the second bullet, strategic planning, defining smart outcomes, right? There were many times I remember once like being charged with creating a whole new pre-K4 program and like having to, you know, field grants for that. And I was like, I need help just identifying what these outcomes should be, working backwards from there, building logic models for that program, et cetera. So it was very outside of the platform, but still very data aligned. And so thinking through that, those are the types of sessions that you could also have in relation to your Apricot and your ETO platforms. That goes also into even interpreting the data, right? Like, hey, I need to create a report for my board. I don't know what these numbers mean. Can I use a session with you to look over this report and help me identify what things should be correlating here? What's the story that I can tell my board? And again, having that thought partner, that second brain to help think through those things, and then come away from that session so that you have then your task that you need to take from there to then be able to go and chat with your board about that. So there are a number of different use cases for this service specifically, and what that looks like in terms of sessions. And actually, Joe, if we can move on to the next slide. This is in no way an exhaustive list, and it will continue to expand. One thing that we've kind of already seen is that, you all have great ideas also, right? So we are not only partners, but also the resources that are going to go and do the research, right, for future sessions. And we're going to be able to build on our own knowledge in the industry space to further, create more sessions for this list. So as I mentioned earlier, right, like optimizing your Apricot ETO for everyday use, maybe that's walking through and showing you how to do your own health check in the system, right? Looking through your reports and your forms and seeing and identifying, okay, hey, these things might be slowing down this load page, et cetera, and talking through those sorts of things. Designing the smart outcomes that matter, right? Really measuring what matters so that you are ensuring that you are capturing data that is aligned with those outcomes, right? What are the outputs from there? How do we then track? How do we then design what we've talked about here to translate into your product itself? So like I said, definitely not an exhaustive list here, but just some examples of the sessions that this offering would provide. And I'll move it over to Torvik now to talk about ones for the every action side.
Yeah, the next slide, Joe. So kind of like Ashley mentioned, the use cases on the every action side of things, the fundraising engagement use cases are, you all have probably used the product, for a long time, or just getting your, kind of dipping your toes into the product. But, how we kind of approach these sessions, they're not necessarily, we definitely start to see common themes. We try to propose, and we have some sessions that we've done a few times over, or, nothing's ever kind of cookie cutter, so we help, kind of curate, choose some topics that help align with your team and your overall strategies for the year and such, and just kind of meet you where you need to be, meet you at your level. If it's like we need to do some one-on-one exercises, or if you have some new staff, coming in, or we're here to kind of unlock, some resources or some audiences of supporters that you haven't necessarily given attention to, or and such. So, we're really here to, before these sessions, the consultant will spend some time preparing, a tailored approach, with some guidance and help with some examples and ultimately live walkthroughs. Most of the time, we're actually in your own database, looking at your own instance, your own data, and looking at your goals, looking at what you've done. And, we help to, frame some recommendations and to, ultimately demonstrate some workflows directly in the platform, and to leave you with something, and we'll follow up too. We'll be like, hey, we talked about the framework for this automation. Here it is. And, here's your homework, and, we can kind of chat about it again. But and then for, some, I was going through and trying to extract some workflow sessions. So like on the next slide, you'll see that, again, there can be, there's, 70, 80, 100 different types of sessions out there, whether you're just starting to build and understand your donor database, or you're starting to get more into creating your newsletters. A lot of this can be, be perfect for communication staff, get into every action, and starting to help build your emails, and help, kind of weave that into, our templates and your branding, or customizing the content of those emails with, dynamic merge fields and things like that. Or if you're adopting some functionality in the system, like optimize asks, how to do that. So, we will proactively, work with you. We will, try to have these sessions here that again that meet your needs, and we'll always continuously evaluate. Be like, hey, you know what? Actually, next month we know we have this big event, and we want to just focus in on creating that event. And make sure that we're thinking about it right, and such, and we'll kind of do end to end on that. So the time spent in the core offering is really hyper focused on strategic like sessions over that course of 12 months and such. So but yeah, this is just kind of give you a tiny little bit of sampling of some stuff that we've done in the past, and it's trying to extract and kind of start to plant some seeds for food for thought. Yeah. But again, Ashley and I are very excited. We us and our teams, kind of work with our clients, directly, hands-on and such. So we're very fortunate to be able to work and see the impact. Oftentimes we'll work with clients and 6 months down the road and be like, hey, remember that thing that we did all way back on the first or second month? It turns out that got all this engagement. So it's just like we're excited for you and such. So, but Joe, you want to close us out on the kind of the finishing parts here?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Torvik. So I do have another poll for you. And that question is, what part of this package is most interesting to you? Are you most interested in the live consulting? Are you excited that it is a more affordable package than our previous packages? Are you most interested in the product consulting or in the non-product related consulting? What's the most interesting to you? And we'll leave that poll open for just a few minutes here before we keep, not a few minutes, that would be way too long. Apologies. Just a few moments here, not minutes. And then we'll keep rocking and rolling.
Thanks, Joe. Sorry, I had to go off camera for a bit. Got my kind internet connection error. So sorry, y'all are just going to have to deal with my name for a second. But thanks for answering the poll. Folks are getting their answers rolling in. I'd say we'll leave this up for about 8 more seconds, Joe. So it's up for a minute here, so that everybody has time to answer in case you ran away to get water or something and have time to come back for it. Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. So what now? You're interested, you're curious, you're thinking, hey, this might be something that our organization could benefit from. What should you do? Well, hop right on in and talk to your account executive directly to get signed up. Right now, of course, along with talking to your account executive, remember we do have our additional resources like our support packages page. Don't forget to sign up for the monthly newsletter. And remember, we have our academy and support. But again, if you're like, all right, I'm ready to dive in, like I really want to have this conversation, I want to move forward, I want to work with Torvik, I want to work with Ashley, I want to work with their teams, reach out to your account executive directly. Now, question that we do sometimes get is, who is my account executive? If you need to find out who your account executive is, head right on to bonterratech.com/support. And then go ahead and fill out the form there in order to get connected with your account executive. Do make sure to put in the correct product, whether that is Every Action or Apricot, and just let them know you need to speak to your account executive specifically about a core support package. So with that in mind, or with that done, what questions do you have for us? Floor is open. Please do drop them right there in that Q&A space, and we'll get you some of those questions answered.
We'll wait a few seconds for folks to drop their questions in. Just on the note of looking for that next step and that follow-up, if you do want to kind of raise your hand now and right away, like, hey, I'm interested in learning more, I'd like to talk to my account executive, I am going to just put up a poll just so that we know that ahead of time, can alert those folks just in case they know that that conversation is coming. So if that's something you're curious about, kind of know that right away, want to learn a little bit more, I'll leave that up. for a few moments while we hang tight and wait for your questions to come in. And if no questions come in, we'll just assume that Torvik, Ashley, and Joe, we can label you smartest support services people on earth. Most informative session to date. No questions to be had. All right, I'm seeing folks dropping off. Seeing not a ton of questions. Ashley, Torvik, or Joe, I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to close out with, or if you had something that people ask a lot about that might be top of mind. If not, we can send everyone on their merry way.
No, I mean, we're always available to ask questions. Is this a good fit for X, Y, and Z, that kind of stuff. So reach out to your account team and things like that. And we can be helpful.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for coming by, and please do let us know however we can support y'all. Thank you so much.